Good evening, everybody. My name's Tom Stoukas, coming to you from Sarnia, Ontario on Monday, May 5th, Cinco de Mayo. So, lots of stuff going on today. Uh, as predicted, really, after the election, we got Carney in Washington a day early. Tomorrow he meets with President Trump and see how that goes tomorrow. And meanwhile, they have a lot to discuss. And just before the meeting, Trump's sent out this post about tariffing the movies that aren't made in the U.S. Just so happens a lot of movies are made in Canada, especially in Ontario and BC. So Doug Ford's got not only they got the auto sector being hollowed out, they were threatened to be hollowed out, but now they got the movie industry. I don't know how you tariff a movie. I'm sure there's a way to do it. Like you could strong arm. It's basically he's threatening the studios to move their production to the States, or else they'll face some kind of consequences, tariffs or whatever. So, I don't know. Lots to discuss with the U.S. president. I don't even watch movies anymore, so I really don't care. And then, so Carney's in Washington, being all prime ministerial, while he's there. Pierre's stuck on the prairie, acting like a good little politician on the campaign trail. Poor guy. Instead of being in Ottawa, he has to sit. We got the video too. Instead of being in Ottawa, being prime minister, and planning to meet Trump, he's sitting in a wheat field in Alberta. Poor guy. I'm sure his wife was in the video. Oh gosh, she's pissed. But so he basically, Pierre Poilievre basically launches campaign for the by-election that's to come in that Alberta riding of, I don't know what it's called, Battle Creek, Crowfoot or something. And he's screwed. Like, he can't catch a break. Okay. This guy loses his 20-point lead or 25-point lead. Not only does he lose the election to this Carney guy, who's a globalist, a globalist, ultra globalist, he loses his own riding. All right? Now he has to do the humiliating thing and go to a safe riding where he'll get put into the House of Commons. And what's he going to run into? Just a seeming a simple by-election and a safe riding. It's anything but, because he's going to face Alberta separatists. It's a perfect venue for them to have their voice heard. No better than a totally pro-separatist. I'm sure they have a lot of separatist sentiment in that riding. And regardless, even if there's a little bit, they're gonna get that in part of the by-election, even though Pierre's people are going to try their best to avoid it. Like, so he's going into a separatist storm, in a sense, because it's just gaining a little steam. I don't know. I don't live in Alberta, but it just seems like it's not losing steam, at least. And the Liberals, and especially the liberal media, are going to just totally bring it up with Pierre any chance they can get, because he's running in Alberta. He's going to say, what do you think about separatism in Alberta? I'm sure he'll give the stock answer, but he's got to walk a tightrope between alienating Albertans and, like, scaring off the centrists or whatever. Like he's always walking that tightrope. But this one's an interesting one. So the guy can't catch a break. Not only does he lose the election, he loses his riding. Now he has to go into separatist it's just I can see it already. Like he better be prepared for it because he's gonna get killed if he isn't. Like when they start asking him these questions, and or let's say he's got a separatist in the running as a candidate, and he doesn't debate him, stuff like that, like little things like that. Like I'm sure he'll win the riding, but the guy can't catch a break. So that's what we see there. And they haven't even called the by-election, so it could be like could be a while. I'm sure it'll be in there by the fall, but still. And then other big news with Alberta, and like I said, this kind of reinforces what I just said about Pierre's campaigns could be have to deal with answer questions about this. Is Danielle Smith made a big announcement today saying, basically, I think she's pulling like the Quebec playbook, where Quebec always threatens separatism or referendum, and they get all sorts of great goodies as a result of staying in Canada. And it's worked out well for them, it seems. And Alberta seems maybe they're going to play the same trick, like where they'll always threaten to go call referendum. So she said today that she'll go forward with a referendum if they get enough signatures. She won't stand in the way of it, and they'll have a team ready to negotiate or something like that. Whatever. It's going to be interesting and messy. They might want a quick referendum because they think, okay, they're disorganized. Now's the time to do it because they won't get that super majority. So again, Danielle's basically, and she said an interesting thing. She said, people in Alberta shouldn't be called traitors because they're talking about separatists. They should be called, they should be called, I don't know what she said. She said something like, we'll look up what she said, but she basically defended them. So it's going to be interesting where it goes from here. First, Alberta, it's going to be very difficult, I think, because under the Clarity Act, I remember they passed that after the second Quebec referendum. They said you have to have like a really big majority. So 50 plus one's not going to cut it, right? They're going to need like 60 at least. So like, I think in the U.S., the Senate, to break a filibuster, 60 votes. So they might say 60%, right, instead of 50. Or they might say 65, or they might say 70. So the devil's in the details, right? And not only that, you got the cities full of like immigrants, communities who are not going to want to separate from Canada. And those are growing communities. So there's another, and then I don't know how big the indigenous opposition is or how real it is. They might want to go too. Canada, has it been that great to them? I don't know. So I'm sure they could do a deal. And like I said, I'm not really surprised that it's happening so quick after the election, because we did talk about it. Said this is going to happen if the Liberals win, and it's happening. That the separation referendum is come up actually this quick. Maybe I'm surprised it came up this quick, but they didn't waste no time to bring it up and make it real. It's a real thing now. Like, not just Quebec now, it's Alberta. And maybe Donald Trump, they say this guy's great forecaster. He's called a lot of things correct in his career. Maybe he's seen this coming, where between Quebec and Alberta, really it's just Ontario after that. Like, or I guess BC. But BC would probably go with Alberta. Who knows? So he sees a lot of turmoil in Canada on its own without his interference. So now he's almost sitting back waiting to pick up the pieces. So lots of uncertain future for Canada between the politics in Alberta and how Mark Carney deals with Alberta, because Danielle Smith says she's not a separatist. She wants to stay in Canada. So, um, so she said she had a call with Carney and it went well. So it just depends on how strong the separatist movement is in Alberta. I don't know. It's hard to say. Again, I don't really live there, but the polls, I haven't really seen any polls either. So, all right. So, here are more local. Definitely, though, it's going to happen. Something's going to happen. And it's all going to come with Pierre's campaign, though, which is poor Pierre. He's going to have to deal with this. It could be awkward because he really has to thread a needle there to not piss off people, upset people in Alberta, but also not piss off people outside of Alberta. Because he's not just running in that riding, he's running as the leader of the Conservative Party. Sorry, guys. And closer to home, we've Doug Ford giving a list of nation building projects to Mark Carney in hopes of getting it done, as he likes to say. And there's some big projects there, like the 401 tunnel. He's obsessed with this tunnel. I don't think it's ever going to happen unless he gets Elon there with the boring thing. Then I would have confidence in it, but until then, I wouldn't have confidence in it. So he's got all these big projects, and I don't think, the Ring of Fire, which they've been talking about for 20 years, and I don't think he expects any of that stuff to get done, but he's going to say, Doug Ford's going to say, when he runs for the leadership of the Conservative Party, because this is all it is he's going to say, oh, these are all the proposals I made, and Mark Carney hasn't, the Liberals failed, and this is what I'm going to do when I'm Prime Minister. I mean, it's pretty obvious that's what he's doing, I think. So, yeah, we're screwed in Ontario. We don't have no referendum here. Damn it. I don't know what's going to happen in Ontario if Alberta takes off. Quebec won't be far behind. I don't know what we're going to do. We're turn into India, I guess. We'll become Indian state number 500. All right. And then, so that's all. A lot of going on today. Yeah, my head's spinning. And then you got all the other stuff going on, but it's like a weird vibe I'm getting. Just like this big change going on. A lot of change going on. Big changes. But the weather sucks too. It could be better. So we'll go to the daily feed. But yeah, I think things are very interesting though. And we said this about the election, like if the Conservatives lose, there's going to be this big separation. The question is how much momentum will it have? That's all. Because I think at this point it might be hard to get, especially now with Trudeau gone, it might be hard to get 60% to vote for separation, but you never know. All right. I'm just going to head off.
Well, it's
been a long day. So we got a few interesting clips today. We're just going to go through them very quickly. Okay. All right. Have a great week. Yes, it's the start of the week. So this is the first post on about Alberta separatism. We got to figure a good name for it. On Saturday, hundreds of people rallied at the Alberta legislature to support separation from Canada, with many in the crowd waving Alberta flags and a few even displaying the U.S. stars and stripes. Oh, I bet you anything the CIA's got their claws in Alberta, because before they do anything like take over another place, they get the CIA in there to stoke discontent. Yeah, a few hundred people. It's not bad. I never thought we'd see Alberta separatists. I grew up with Quebec separatists. I never thought we'd see Alberta separatists. So there's that first thing. Lots of news stories about this. Then Danielle's announcement today. So, and this is Mark Carney's book, Values. It's available PDF if you want it on. It's on the. I retweeted it. I downloaded it. I started reading the first page. So might as well know your enemy, or know the person who's going to rule or your overlord, I guess. And those are his words, I guess. We'll see what he says in this book. So I'll keep you updated. I read the first page. It's just him getting escorted into the Bank of England. It's a nice description. Nice place. Sounds really cool. Lots of history. Historic place. So I said I want to read this book to know who I'm dealing with. This is an interesting story today. Adam Vaughan, who is now working for Therm Canada after totally criticizing the deal by Doug Ford to turn Ontario Place over to the spa company. And he used to be a real big thorn to the Ford brothers back in the council days in Toronto. I was reading a book called Crazy Town, and he was in it a little bit as a Ford opponent. And so it's ironic that he's backing, or he works for the people working with Doug Ford to get this thing built. If it's a good thing or bad thing, probably not. But look at Adam. He sold his soul, didn't he? He needed the money. You could see his face. He's like, and
plays senior roles in his.
I sold my soul for money. No, maybe not. Maybe he believes in the project. All right. Next thing. And then I think this is about Doug Ford again. Is he running for prime minister? Is Pierre weak enough where he's going to be taken out? Hold on, guys. Yeah. And this is Doug Ford's campaign guy, Corey Tenike. I don't even know how to say his name. And he's basically criticizing Pierre again. So it doesn't seem like Pierre's going to have a smooth ride for the years of opposition, during the years of opposition that he's probably going to sit in, because Carney's going to do his best to avoid an election. So it could be years before Pierre gets his rematch. So will he be around for that? I don't know. I don't think so, but you never. I mean, now that I think about it, who do they have, really? Well, they have a few people, I guess. But anyway, Doug Ford is one of those. Sorry, guys. This stupid mic is not wanting to stay. So he's Doug Ford's guy, and he's sniped at Pierre during the whole campaign. And he put another one. He had some good zingers. He called Pierre's team, said they were guilty of campaign malpractice. This is during the campaign. He also said that Pierre was a cheap karaoke impersonation of Trump. And now he's saying he's got small dick energy for complaining about the election loss and basically blaming guys like Doug Ford for the election loss. So Corey tonight, he's on CT. Was he on CTV? Yeah. Continues attacks on the federal conservatives. Attacking Ford in Houston was a big-time small dick move. Energy. Last I checked, these idiots attacked the Fed campaign first. CTV should invite actual conservative to balance out this leftist bullshit. So yeah, Doug Ford's guy gets a lot of airtime on CTV to slag Pierre. Read into it what you will. Let's see what he says.
And to throw barbs
I love the look on Vasi Kapolos's face when he says it. It's pretty funny, actually.
Much more red Tories than he is, like Peter MacKay, to run and play senior roles in his cabinet and to create a team in which different parts of the country could see themselves reflected. That's what you do if you want to win. And to throw barbs at Ford and Houston and others and blame them for your problems in the election campaign, it's big time small d energy. And I don't think it's something that is gonna help them with the work that's ahead. I think it's possible to rebuild those relationships, but you got to try, and the way to try is not to hurl blame at them for your own inadequacies during the campaign.
P. Diddy had more money.
So there you go. It continues the kind of the war of the words between the Ford and Poilievre campaign. So I don't think that's going away. And a lot of conservatives have been showing in Ford's posts since the election, the federal election. They've been vitriolically expressing themselves against Doug Ford and his role in kind of undermining Pierre's campaign. Now he wants to run for the Conservatives. Let's say, how's he going to play that? They hate him for rigging the election, supposedly, and now he's going to run for a Conservative leader. I don't know how that works, but we'll find out. Yeah, I guess he thinks people have short memories, Doug Ford. So. All right, next post. Juno News. Oh, Juno. It said, the PPC played a decisive role in a handful of tightly contested ridings where their share of the vote may have cost the Conservatives potential victories or even forced unexpected ties. I don't know what that means, but... And Juno is just like a conservative, I don't know, apologist rag. Like, it's clearly they're in the toilet for Pierre Poilievre, which is fine, but they don't make no... They're just being whiners after the election. That's all they're doing. They should try and do something like productive. So, for instance, they say PPC played a role in a handful of tightly contested ridings. So, first of all, it doesn't mean PPC would vote Conservative. A lot of PPC hate Conservative policies. They're disgusted by them, okay? And the second, how many ridings were lost by the Liberals to Conservatives because of vote splitting between NDP and Liberals? Probably a few. So, all you're doing is whining. You're whining. And it's weak. Juno News. It's weak. All right, next post. This is what Doug Ford wants. He sends a letter to Mark Carney outlining the province's top priorities for nation-building projects. Who the guy boxes up John A. MacDonald for who knows how many years, and he's going to be a nation builder. Huh. Ring of Fire, okay. Nuclear energy generation, okay. James Bay Deep Seaport, Go Expansion, 412. So basically none of this is going to get done in the next 4 years. So then Ford will say, hey, I said this 4 years ago and none of it's done. That's what I think's going on here. This is his national vision. This isn't Ontario. He wants it, you know. And then he'll be able to say, hey, I tried all this. And he wouldn't listen to me. All right. Now the Pierre, the prairie goy, comes home. I call it little goy on the prairie. Pierre, let's look at him. There's Pierre. Oh, my God. He's like, I can't believe I have to do this. He's like, I can't believe I have to do this. Right? Instead of in Ottawa at the steakhouse, deciding where I'm going to fly, like when I got to fly to Washington to meet Donald Trump, I'm here in Alberta. Oh, that's hilarious. Poor guy. So there's Pierre and the farm, meeting the locals. Poor guy. Look at him. Oh, he's on the farm. Poor Anida or whatever her name is. She looks so thrilled to be there. Let's see what her face looks like. Let's see what the face looks like. Pierre's like, I'm so glad I'm in Alberta. Look at it. I get to meet people. Oh, God. So anyway, he'll get back in, but it's just so... It's such a setback to be sitting out there while the House of Commons and all this shit's going on in Ottawa and in Washington. Little Goy on the prairie, stuck out there. He's been exiled. And the longer he's out of the loop, the longer his enemies will plot against him. And then, so the next post... I said this, I just kind of realized this because I didn't expect Pierre to lose his seat in the election. And he's heading into like a separatist shitstorm, basically. Like it's the worst timing for him too, because he just needs to get this by-election and get the hell out of there. But he's heading into rough waters because he's going to have to talk about it. He's going to have a position on it, which is fine. That's easy enough. But then he could always get a curveball thrown in, like some separatist heckler. Who knows? So if he tries to play it safe like he usually does, it'll probably backfire. Who knows? It's going to be a threading the needle situation. And for a by-election, that's usually just like a slam dunk. It's a little bit of a wrinkle. So anyway, it says, Tarita says, she's from Alberta, it looks like. Some assume PP would win the huge votes Damien did. That's not going to be the case. I live in Camrose. There is already division within conservative circles with separatists and those upset with losing Damien. It is not going to be the easy landslide he thinks it is. So maybe we'll see. That's what I mean. Like these separatists could get in the mix. It'd be very interesting. And they seem like the kind of type of people that won't just sit around and not get involved in something like this because it's a national event. People will be watching this. A lot of free publicity there for the cause. And then this Shiloh, I don't know, this story is weird. People acting all outraged about this lady saying the N-word on video in Minnesota Park. Meanwhile, there's literally thousands of videos on X of black thugs beating on defenseless white people. Often videos show old people or young kids getting beat by some aggressive black dude or a white guy getting jumped by 5 gangbangers. So let's spare the outrage over this woman. We really don't give a shit. But according, we're woke right if we say that. We're just saying enough already, I guess. But that's that. Next, Doug Ford. he had the problem with the auto industry. Now he's got the film industry getting raided here. And he's really slagging on Trump.
Dollars.
Let's see what he says.
But well, it's every day something new with him. You know, we built our film industry up to about $3 billion. Our goal is $5 billion. But again, he's just going after the entire world. It's obviously backfiring. You see his polls, the worst in 80 years. He's down to 39% of approval rating. And I think he has to start moving quick before the midterms because it's not going to look good for him in the midterms.
Oh, we got Doug Ford, the U.S. political analyst, Doug Ford. That's their only hope is Trump loses. They're banking on that. That's their plan. Trump loses the midterms, otherwise we're screwed. All right. Next post. Toronto unsold condo rate has reached incredible level. Expert. Yeah, Toronto's screwed. I love Toronto. I used to live there. It's going to be just a shell apocalypse, something like you would put Kurt Russell in Escape from New York. Wall it off. Next post. PM Mark Carney plans to protect Canadians from American apps. So I don't know where he said this, but it looks like it's legit. And he's basically talking about X, because all the other ones, I'm not even on the other ones, but he sounds like he's describing X to a T. So yeah, he'll basically see if he goes all Keir Starmer on us and starts, showing up at your house. And if that happens, well, we have to go from there. I wouldn't want to live in a country where they bug you over saying your opinion. You're not threatening nobody, you're just saying your honest opinion. Then the day we have a country where they send people to the door like they are in the UK and Germany, the day that happens, it's over. It's over. So, let's see what he says here.
To protect Canadians and to build communities. Large American online platforms have become seas of racism, misogyny, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and hate.
He's talking
in all
about
its
X.
forms.
Sounds just like X.
And they're being used by criminals to harm our children.
Yeah.
My government will act. And today we're announcing our plan to fight crime, to protect Canadians, and to build communities that are safe, secure, and strong. A plan to make Canada secure, to make Canada strong.
Oh, God. Yeah, basically, X, he's like, I'm talking about you, X. He should have just named X. And this is not a surprise because in Europe, they've done the same thing with X. They've gone after X for supposedly all this stuff. So he's basically following the European lead. So, yeah. It could be like, when Brazil tried shutting X down and the European countries are bugging Elon, threatening to arrest him. I think we're screwed. And whether Pierre won or not, that's neither here nor there. He didn't win. He didn't bring it home. So we're stuck with this guy. So I knew it's going to be trouble the minute he replaced Trudeau. So we'll see what he does. But according to this, he sounds pretty serious. Look at the look in his eyes. Look at him. He looks like he means business. So, yeah. Basically, X to a T, all the good stuff on X that I like. Oh, no. He's going to take that away from us. Danielle Smith, this is where we talked about her Alberta address.
Country than will ever.
Let's see what she says here.
opened our doors wide for millions of our fellow Canadians searching for opportunity, many of whom stay and become Albertan, and many who return home to their native province. All have been welcomed with open arms. Our province has contributed hundreds of billions of dollars more to the federal treasury for use in other parts of the country than will ever receive back in benefits. We have allowed this to occur because, quite frankly, we know how blessed our province is with an endowment of natural resources that free to develop and export the livelihoods of our people. They have blocked new pipelines with C-69, canceled multiple oil and gas projects, and banned the very tanker ships needed to carry those resources to new markets.
Maybe
They've
Danielle run
stacked
for a
an oil and
Conservative
gas
leader.
production cap on top of a crippling industrial carbon tax, making new energy and agricultural projects economically impossible to pursue without massive subsidies from governments, which Ottawa has failed to provide and which our taxpayers cannot afford. This onslaught of anti-energy, anti-agriculture, and anti-resource development policies have scared away global investments to the tune of $500 billion, driving those investments and jobs out of Alberta and Canada to much more attractive investment climates in the United States, Asia, and the Middle East. Having traveled much of the world these past few years, it is evident that...
Anyway, she basically, like I said, she's pulling the Quebec card, basically, the Quebec playbook, where basically they say, oh, if we don't get a good deal, if we don't get a better deal, we're leaving. And they say, we'd rather stay. She's saying, we'd rather stay. But we want a better deal. So it's the Quebec playbook, and it seems, like I said before, it seems to have worked well for Quebec. Let's see, I think this is a quick excerpt.
Our government will not be putting a vote on...
About the referendum.
To be clear from the outset, our government will not be putting a vote on separation from Canada on the referendum ballot. However, if there is a successful citizen-led referendum petition that is able to gather the requisite number of signatures requesting such a question to be put on a referendum, our government will respect the democratic process and include that question on the 2026 provincial referendum ballot as well.
So there you go. That'll be, like I said, it'll be interesting to follow how that goes. But poor Pierre, couldn't be worse for him because he's going to head into the prairies. Let's see. I saw this little guy in the prairie. That's the first thing I thought of. But people say this video is good, Peter. First thing, it's poor. It's humiliating. Like he's taken and he even admits it a little, like he's humiliated a little, and he has to take his little bit of humble pie. But this whole thing with having the wife with him all the time, I don't know if it's a good idea. Maybe they polled it and she came out good. I don't know. So, he's going to run into all sorts of roadblocks out here. These separatists are going to be the biggest one because he's not going to want to answer anything about the separatists. He just want to get this by-election over with. But no, they're going to bug him. I guarantee they're going to bug him about the separatists. Let's see what he says.
Affordable home, living on a safe... Well, it's been about a week since the election, and it didn't go how we wanted. But when you get knocked down, you get up and get going. And we've got a lot to be thankful for. I'm thankful for you, the countless people who packed out our rally halls, our 2.3 million extra votes, the 25 extra seats, the breakthroughs in Ontario and BC, the expanded coalition of young people, union workers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, and countless others who had never voted before and are now supporting our conservative cause. Now, it wasn't enough. We didn't get over the finish line, which means that I need to learn and grow.
Learn and grow.
Team needs to expand.
A little humble.
That will be my mission. And we've got a path. With a path to get elected back into Parliament as soon as possible, we'll be holding the government to account, proposing better ideas to solve the problems that you're facing every day. And our mission hasn't changed. I still want to put you back in charge of your life, give everyone who works hard a fair shot at an affordable home, living on a safe street, protected by police and soldiers and sound laws, so that everybody's safe and our flag flies high over the freest country on earth. Now, It won't be easy, but easy street leads to a dead end.
Easy street leads to
and
a
the
dead
hardest
end.
paths lead to the best destination. Our destination is a country where the possibilities are as big and blue as this prairie sky. Let's make it happen.
So he's basically just rallying the troops there, because basically it's like a by-election in like an 80% conservative riding. But like I said, I guarantee the Liberals are going to be like, especially the liberal media, they're going to totally pepper him with the separatists, like paint him as a separatist sympathizer or something like that. He'll probably, all he has to do is say the same thing as Danielle. What she's saying, Albertans who want to separate from Canada are justifiable, not traitors. I don't even think, if Pierre doesn't say something like that, they're going to roast him in Alberta. It's going to be interesting. It's a tightrope. It's a tightrope. As early as next year, they're going to beat Quebec to the referendum. Because Quebec doesn't even have a provincial election for a year and a half. So by the time they get around to a referendum, Alberta could be already out. That's hilarious. Oh, this is a good one. This cartoon. So who compromised you? Epstein? And you? Diddy? Cool. Yeah, these both guys have connections to both of the two big cases. P. Diddy and Jeffrey Epstein. What are the chances of that in a liberal commercial? Makes you wonder. That was the last of the night. This is what we're heading for. And the thing about Mark Carney, I'll say, his superpower, I'll tell you right now, is he's so banal. And they said in the book, or they said the term, the banality of evil. And the point is, I think, is you don't consider somebody like somebody so banal. He's not boring in the sense he's not smart or interesting. He's just boring, just to the point where you don't get fired up about what he says. So his banality is his power, because he just glides through everything with such a banal ease, and people are disarmed by it, his banality. But wait till he starts busting some heads, then we'll see how the banal act works. The banality of evil. I'm going to grok that, and then that'll be the end of the night. Tomorrow, there's a Conservative caucus meeting, which should be interesting to see how on board how united the caucus. This is the thing I have a problem with. I say this again. What was I asking Grok about? Oh God, I forgot already. Oh, the banality of evil. Oh my God, banality of evil. But anyway, we got the Conservative caucus meeting. Obviously, the meeting with Donald Trump and Mark Carney will be hilarious. I'll be watching that. So we'll be talking about that tomorrow. The caucus meeting, how Pierre's campaign's going, and lots of other stuff I'm sure will be going on. Okay, banality of evil. A concept introduced by philosopher Hannah Arendt in her 1963 book, Eichmann in Jerusalem, a report on the banality of evil. I'm not comparing him to Eichmann, okay? I'm just saying he's a banal guy. It describes how ordinary people can commit or enable horrific acts not out of malice or ideological zeal, but through thoughtlessness, conformity, or a failure to clearly reflect on their actions. Maybe that's not him. But if he is a globalist, ultra globalist tool, then yeah, banality evil. There you go. Anyway, that's his power. Like he's not like Trudeau, where Trudeau has that punchable face, especially that smile of his. Ugh. But Carney is just like, whatever, man. But I guarantee if you start sending people to the door, screwed. But that's the thing. Another thing about the by-election is, this is the thing that kind of annoys me, is because Pierre picks the one guy that probably worked hard, did whatever he had to do, held the base so he didn't have to. And he takes his ride. And meanwhile, there's like a million Indian MPs who don't even speak English. And I didn't see any of them offering up his seat to Pierre. Instead, they go with the whitest dude in Alberta to give up his seat. It's kind of messed up. And I'm not saying, but I'm saying people in Alberta might say, what the hell, man? Like, why are you taking our seat? Like, he had that 25-year-old guy, Calistani guy, put in BC. Guy never did a day of politics in his life. Why don't you take his riding? But, that's the Conservative Party you have. They're nothing different from the Liberals anyway. Just a distraction. The Liberals going to mess us up. Yeah. Lots of fun stuff ahead of us. So that's what we'll work on tomorrow. The Trump Carney meeting, Pierre's travels on the prairies, and the Conservative Party, the caucus meeting, and anything else that comes up. So until then, we shall see you tomorrow. Have a nice night, guys.